Welcome to Exploration Overland. My name's Zach, and today, guys, I'm going to show you how to change out this, a wheel speed sensor off of a Jeep Wrangler JL. So stay tuned, guys. That is correct, and because you guys will have seen my update video from a couple weeks ago already, because this is being filmed before that, you know that the Jeep was down for a while because of this. This is the wheel speed sensor. Hopefully you guys can see that. Otherwise, I'll make sure you guys can see it. This went out on my last trip in September, end of September, in Moab. And when this went out, a lot of different things happened on the Jeep, and it made the dash light up like a Christmas tree. First and foremost, what is a wheel speed sensor and why does it have it? So a wheel speed sensor, obviously, monitors the speed of your wheels. On Jeep Wranglers, the JK and the JLs, and on a lot of modern day vehicles, you have wheel speed sensors, and you have four on all four wheels, and it monitors the speed in which the wheel is rotating. What that then does is tell the computer what the speed is, and that controls your ABS, your electronic stability control, your cruise control, things like that. Things that involve the sense or involve the wheels, the computer relies on the wheel speed sensor. But once this dies, all that goes away. And on a Jeep Wrangler JL, when I say it all goes away, I mean it all goes away. When this went out, not only did it get a check engine light, service four-wheel drive light, and a bunch of other little warning lights on my dash, I lost all capabilities of the four-wheel drive system. And the transfer case didn't even want to transfer into for low or for high. It just didn't. I lost my lockers front and rear. I lost ABS. I lost cruise control. I lost electronic stability control. All that. All those tiny little safety features that are supposed to make your vehicle safer vanished because one wheel speed sensor went out and the computer couldn't tell what that wheel was. And unfortunately, once this goes, it goes. And it's not the easiest thing to get a hold of. First off, as a part and in location. Okay, so let's get into the part itself to start with. So the part numbers will appear for both the front and rear here on the screen. And they both are different, completely different parts in a sense. They're both wheel speed sensors, but a front can't work on the rear and a rear can't work on the front. Just lovely Mopar things. But these part numbers, guys, are for Jeep Wrangler JLs and JTs. Because the Gladiator runs off of the same wheel speed sensors, which is great. But this part isn't an easy part to come by. I found that out the hard way. It took 6 weeks for this part to get here. A lot of places don't have them in stock, and the ones that do, they cost a lot of money. This part, for just one, cost me almost $80. Just for this tiny little wheel speed sensor itself, it cost 80 bucks, and literally, guys, what I got was this. This is the old wheel speed sensor, by the way, but this is all I got. I got a bunch of wires and a wheel speed sensor that cost me 80 bucks, and then I had to install it myself. Trying to go through the dealer took way too long, as you guys will know from my update video. But getting the part takes the longest, in my opinion. Now, replacing the part, where the part goes and things of that nature, is very straightforward. First off, in essence of talking about the rear wheels are the easiest to replace. You don't have to remove the wheel, the brake caliper, or the rotor to do so. It's, I do believe, a 10mm socket. You can do it right off of the back of the wheel hub itself with the tire still on. You unbolt it, pull it out, you put the new one in, bolt it into place, and you just run the wire and plug it in where it's supposed to go. The rears are really, really simple to change. The fronts, not so much. And for me, the front driver's side is what went out. To replace the front, you have to remove the wheel, the brake caliper, the rotor, and then you have to remove the little shield between the rotor and the rest of the Jeep, just to get to this little thing right here. So that is what we're going to go through, is the process of changing out your front wheel speed sensor. Because when I was looking for this, nobody had done a JL. Amazingly. The JKs are very similar in the approach. The process can be duplicated with this, but this being a newer model, no one really had it out there. So we're going to get into this. Now, this is the passenger side. This has not gone wrong, but it is easier to show you guys on this side because I've already pulled everything apart for the most part. But we're gonna go through the steps and how this is done, so let's get into it, guys. First thing you have to do, obviously, is jack up your Jeep, put something under it so it can be supported, and you need to remove your tire. I've already done that. That's a simple concept. If you don't know how to remove your tire, I suggest you highly go learn how to, because I'm not gonna teach you. Once you get the tire off, here you go. Your brake caliper, the rotor, and this little wire right here, which I know you probably can't see too much. Don't worry, I'm gonna bring you closer, is the wheel speed sensor. And that wheel speed sensor runs all the way along here, up through here, back up in here. And it's got this tiny little clip. If I can grab the old one. This is the tiny little clip that plugs in and tells your computer every little thing that this end is trying to tell it. So to change that, you have to remove both of these. You got to remove the brake caliper and the rotor. The rotor is fairly simple to do, so is the brake caliper. There are 2 bolts on the back of the brake caliper. I'll show you guys here in a second. They are a 21 millimeter bolt. There's 2 of them. You remove them from the top and the bottom, and this will pull all right off with the brake pad still attached, everything. Oh, I can't sit like that with that leg. I gotta change it. Sorry, I had to do some readjusting. My leg did not like that. But you can remove this all off on one piece, and what I generally do is I set it back here on the lower control arm. Next is the rotor. The rotor is held on by 1 screw. It's a T30 right here that you have to unscrew, and hopefully, if your rotor isn't seized and rusted on, the rotor can pull right off. I'm going to tell you right now, this rotor was completely seized on here, and it took a lot of fire and hammering to get it to where I could pull this off. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and remove these 2 things so I can show you where the wheel speed sensor is housed on here. Okay, guys, bolt 1, bolt number 2, you can see it right there. Those are the bolts to remove the brake caliper right here. Those 2, you undo them, 21 millimeter, this comes off, set it right over there. Bolt 1, caliper is loose. Bolt 2, caliper, come right off. And I'm just gonna take her and set her right up out of the way. Easy peasy, she's no longer in the way. Next, T30. Unscrew this. And yes, like I said, everything was pre-loosened on my Jeep because I had to break the caliper free. Little tiny bolt. This is the little bolt that is holding your brake caliper on. And then brake caliper is now off. Now that we have the caliper off, the wheel speed sensor sits right here. Now, I highly suggest you remove the little shield. There are 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3. They're about like a 9 or 10 millimeter bolt. You just remove them. It makes it way easier to get the wiring up through here because this is a very tight fit on the back. Once you're done, there is a hex key here. Don't worry, I'll show you in a second. There's a 5 millimeter hex key. You undo it and you pull out the wheel speed sensor. The new wheel speed sensor, you will put the grease that it comes with on it, stick it back in, and do the whole process in reverse. And once you get it in, you'll have to wire all this up in there. Now, what I highly suggest is once you get this all off, you put the wheel speed sensor in, run the wire back just a little bit, plug it in first, and make sure that the computer recognizes it and you don't have a faulty wheel speed sensor to begin with, because the last thing you want to do is go through that whole process, put it all together, and then turn on your Jeep and the wheel speed sensor still doesn't work. Now, once that wheel speed sensor is plugged in, it will take the Jeep a couple of seconds, it's about 30-ish seconds, to recognize the new wheel speed sensor, and all the lights will turn off. Sometimes it'll even recognize it right as you start the Jeep. When I started mine, it took it about 30 seconds. It recognized the new wheel speed sensor, and all the lights went off on the dash, and everything has been good since. But I highly, highly recommend put this in, plug it in first, make sure it works. Then once it works, you can either unplug it, or if you started to run the wiring correctly, which I'll show you up close, the wiring, you can run the wire, it all clips on nicely, you go from there, and that's how you get the wheel speed sensor done. But let me show you where the wheel speed sensor sits. This is your lovely wheel speed sensor that I said was tucked up right behind here. There it is. That is the 5mm hex key. Once that comes out, like I said before, this is what it looks like. It'll sit right in there. The wiring runs up under this little shield, back along here, and as you can see, you just kind of follow it, and it'll run down, up here, through here, and there will be a plug that is connected to the frame of the Jeep. Now, once it's a bit of a pain in the butt to get it off of the frame. And as you can see from the old plug, it's got the little things. The new one has the same thing. It'll push right back into the holes that were designed for it to be there. But to get it on there and off of there takes a bit, just because it's a very small area and not a lot of room to really get a good grip on it, or to maneuver yourself to be able to have a good position to pull it off. It's just a very awkward spot. But once you get it there, guys, money, you plug it right in and you should be good to go. And just like that, guys, that is how the wheel speed sensor is replaced. And then everything that you do is just in the reverse process. You'll put the wheel speed sensor on, you'll put the shield back on, you'll put the rotor back on, and a hint about the rotor. All these holes will line up with the one little screw spot, so it doesn't have to be the exact same hole that it was in before. But you slap the rotor back on, put that screw in, the brake caliper will slide right back over top of this, put those two bolts back in, tighten them down, make sure they are tight, because those two bolts are what hold all the force when that brake caliper is braking. Put the wheel back on, drop your Jeep down, guys, you are good to go. We have gone full circle. Pretty funny. Just kidding. But we've gone full circle on how to replace the wheel speed sensor. I hope you guys found this helpful and that it will help you guys. It is really not that hard, and you can save yourself a lot of money if this happens to you by just doing it yourself. Yes, the part costs a lot, but going to a dealer and the labor, unless it's under warranty, it'll be quite costly, trust me. I got a quote from the dealer for this, and it was going to be upwards around $600. Go figure. But you know, every dealer is different, but it's up to you. But it's super simple, guys. But thank you all for joining me in this video. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, guys. You guys are what makes this channel happen, and it helps me out immensely. Otherwise, thank you all for joining me, and I'll catch you all next time. Take care.